Have you ever felt like you're just a passenger in your own mind? Like you're being driven around by thoughts that you just can't seem to control? Well, today, we're going to dig into those powerful, often invisible fantasies that can end up steering our lives, and more importantly, what we can actually do about it. So, this whole thing kicks off with a question from a student to their master, and it's a question that probably sounds super familiar to a lot of us, right? You can have a good life, a happy family, everything's fine, but your mind just keeps drifting back to old memories, old relationships, playing that what if game. It's a really powerful and honestly, a pretty painful loop to get caught in. Okay, so let's get right into this feeling of being trapped. The source material talks about this as a powerful loop. And look, the first step to getting out of any trap is understanding how it works in the first place. This is basically that mental movie theater that plays on a loop inside your head. You know the one. Maybe it's a highlight reel of a past relationship or a blockbuster about that career path we didn't take. We spin these amazing, beautiful stories. But while we're doing that, we totally check out from the actual reality that's sitting right in front of us. So to really get a grip on what's happening here, we need to get a little more specific. The master in our source text has a very precise name for this whole phenomenon. It's called Wangshang. Wangshang isn't just a random thought that pops into your head. It's an active process. You're actually doing it. You're taking what are called shadows of past dust, little bits of memories, things you heard, things you saw, and you're weaving them together into a story that perfectly fits what you want or what you fear. You're not just remembering something, you're creating it. In this quote, this really gets to the heart of it. That person from your past isn't inherently the one that got away. No, that's a label, a story that you attach to them. As the master points out, you're just dealing with information, with data, and all your attachments and your biases are splashing color all over it, turning neutral facts into this big, dramatic epic. This is the master's killer analogy to make the point. It's brilliant. Of course you wouldn't find a tiger in there. You wouldn't even find a picture of a tiger. So where is it? Well, it's nowhere. It isn't real. It's just a concept. Information. It has no substance. Your fantasies are exactly the same. They feel so real, so vivid. But if you actually go looking for them, poof, there's nothing there. Now, right about now, you might be thinking, okay, so what? It's just a harmless daydream, big deal. But the source text is crystal clear on this. This habit is anything but harmless. Indulging in Wangxiang has some very serious, very real-world costs. The master points to 3 huge areas of your life that this delusion just attacks. When your mind is lost in fantasyland, you can't really learn anything new because you're not paying attention. You can't do your job well for the exact same reason. And, maybe the toughest one, you can't be present with your family, which slowly wears away at those connections. Your attention is always, always somewhere else. And this is where that path ultimately leads. It's a pretty grim destination. Following these fantasies becomes a habit, and it's a habit of self-sabotage, really. You get so used to living in this inner world that you just keep making choices in the real world that lead directly to your own future pain. It's a vicious cycle where you are literally the architect of your own suffering. And what does that suffering actually look like? Well, the source breaks it down for us. There's that ache of wanting something your fantasy promises you that reality just can't give you. There's the pain of being with the people in your real life while secretly wishing you were with the characters in your head. There's the pain of slowly drifting away from the people you love because you're not really there. And finally, just the raw physical and mental burnout that comes from this constant internal battle. It's exhausting. Okay, I know that was all pretty heavy, but here comes the good news. This is the big turning point. Because this entire cycle, this whole trap, is built on one giant lie. The lie that you're powerless to stop it. The truth is, you have a choice. The master goes right after the student on this one. We tell ourselves this all the time, don't we? Oh, I can't help it, or I just can't stop thinking about it. But is that actually true? Is it a fact? Well, let's put it to the test. Okay, imagine this. You are completely lost in that what-if daydream, just totally absorbed. And then suddenly, bam, the fire alarm starts screaming. You smell smoke. What do? You don't sit there and say, hang on, let me just finish this scene. No, you jump up and you run for your life. And in that exact instant, where did the fantasy go? It's gone. It just vanished instantly. And that is the whole point right there. The fire test proves that you are perfectly capable of dropping that fantasy in a split second. The problem isn't that you lack the ability to stop, it's that you lack the will. We don't have a fire alarm for our daydreams, so we just choose to stay. We choose to indulge, because on some level it feels kind of good. So, this leaves us with two very clear paths, a fork in the road that's in front of us in every single moment. We can go down that familiar road of fantasy, which we now know for a fact leads to self-destruction and suffering, or we can choose the path of wisdom, the path of engaging with the real world, taking practical action. The source is clear. This second path is the only one that builds a genuinely better future. The choice is really that stark. All right, let's bring all of this home and talk about how this all builds into something incredibly empowering. See, once you recognize that you have a choice, you realize you are not a victim of your thoughts. You are the one in the driver's seat. You're the sculptor. This is the core message of this whole teaching. It's so powerful. We are not fated to be lost in delusions for the rest of our lives. Instead, every single time we choose reality over fantasy, that's a conscious act of shaping our own destiny. We are the ones carving out our lives. So how do we start? So how do you actually do it? The master gives some very simple, practical advice. First, you make the conscious choice, abandon the delusion. Then, you take all that energy you were pouring into it and you redirect it toward things that are actually beneficial. And what does that mean? Learn something. Do your job with your full attention. Be truly present and take care of your family. These are the real, solid actions that build a good life. And the result? What's the payoff for choosing this path over and over? It's a state the master calls bukasi. It means a kind of goodness, a kind of well-being that is literally unthinkable and inexpressible. It is a reality that is so much more profound, so much better than any limited, self-serving fantasy you could ever possibly dream up. So in the end, it all comes down to this. Every thought is a choice, and every choice is a strike of the chisel. You can use it to keep carving the same old statue of suffering and regret, or you can start sculpting a masterpiece of genuine well-being. And as we've seen, that choice is, and always has been, entirely yours.